All right. So today we're talking to Joe Esposito, and Joe Esposito is the best around, which is
Wow.
it's an
Okay.
honor to talk to the best around. So
Well, thank. It's an honor to be. It's an honor to be anywhere at this point, Jason.
that's for sure. Yeah, even if it is virtual like this.
Yes, absolutely.
But so Joe, I was saying you have a career that's very hard to describe in a sentence or a word.
Yeah.
A lot of people know you from the Karate Kid, you're the best
Right.
around, and
Right.
but we're going to talk about that. But there's so much more to your career. I mean, as you already know, Joe is a three-time Grammy nominee. He sang on soundtracks for some of the biggest movies of the 1980s, Flashdance, obviously Karate Kid, Staying Alive, and Coming to America, and a bunch more. So we're going to dive into your career, Joe, because I feel like no one's really explained it all.
Right. It's been kind of fragmented. As I was going through it, it didn't seem like much, but when you put it all together, there's like a body of work there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, this is definitely an amazing career. But Joe, I want to start with what made you get into music? How did it start?
When I was a kid, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I first heard Elvis Presley, I was mesmerized. So I used to stand and try to sing, in the mirror, and I had these in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. There were these street corner groups. There was like a lot of talented kids growing up that would have singing groups, and I was always drawn to that as a kid. So then, when I was about 15 or 14 years old, I met my friend Eddie Hawkinson, who is also a founding member of the Brooklyn Dreams, and I started hanging out with them, him and his brother, and we realized that when we would sing, we would attract girls. So that was like the first thing, like, aha. So, basically we started a singing group. And then a couple of years later, the Beatles came out. We picked up instruments, we started playing, and we started playing in clubs. And I played in clubs for many, many years. And on the weekends, I would make as much money playing in clubs as I would, make with my job during the week. And we just kept playing and playing and playing. And then one day, I said, I met this guy, Vinny Poncia, through another friend of mine who was a big time producer. And he had went to LA. And he said, if you come to LA, I can help you. So I got in the car with Eddie and we drove to California from Brooklyn, scared to death, not knowing what I was going to, do when I got there. And once I got to LA, Vinny had called me a few weeks later and said, listen, I have a vocal session. You want to do it? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do it. So we're driving to the studio. He doesn't tell me what it's for. We're singing a little bit. I walk into the studio and I see Ringo Starr. Now, I just got to LA, right? And I'm like in shock. And I see Arif Mardin, who was a big time Atlantic producer. He produced Respect for Aretha Franklin. He produced Donny Hathaway. He gave the Bee Gees that, in the beginning, the Bee Gees were doing like all these ballad type of songs, and he gave them the thing to do for, like, they did Jive Talking with him, and then from there they did Staying Alive and all those other songs. So now I'm there, and Vinny's not saying nothing, and who comes in unannounced? Paul McCartney to the session. I'm with two of the Beatles here. I just got to LA. And Vinny's like, a month ago you were playing in clubs in Brooklyn, and now you're with two of the Beatles. I was like, I'm never leaving. And then from there, other stuff started to happen. We meet Bobby Womack. We sing on Bobby Womack's record. And in the meantime, Bruce Sedano, another lifelong friend, he comes to LA. And I was thinking of doing a solo thing. And we go to have dinner with Susan Mineo, who was Donna Summer's manager, another childhood friend who's in the music business. And she says, why don't you guys put together a demo? The three of you are here, and we'll see if we can get a record deal. And we did, and we got a record deal. So
with Casablanca Records, right?
With Casablanca Records. She was the vice president of marketing for Casablanca. And coincidentally, she gets in touch with Jimmy Ienner, who's a New York label, Millennium Records. We do some demos. Snuffy Walden, by the way, is playing guitar on some of our demos. He went on to be a big time, TV producer.
Yeah, he did
Yeah, he did West Wing, he did 30 something, you know. So we meet all these people, and she plays a demo that we did for Jimmy Ina. He loves it. We go to LA to get a record deal back in New York. That's how it winds up. And Jimmy Ina gets distributed through Casablanca, through his label. And that's kind of how it started. And we meet Donna Summer. She, you know, really loves us as guys who we are. And we'll write some songs with her. We wrote Bad Girls and a bunch of other songs. And then a couple of years later, when Donna was looking for one more song for her album, the engineer happens to mention Bad Girls as, hey, what about that song? It's been on the shelf for a couple of years. They're like, okay. It becomes the title of her album, double album, and goes through the roof. Now, in a million years, I would never think that something like this would happen, but I think because we got in the car and drove to LA, things started happening where we couldn't get arrested in New York. We were there for my whole life, basically. And people would tell me, I was like 26, 27 years old. What are you kidding? You're too old to go and do this. And everything turned around for us. And that's basically how it started for us.
It's amazing. Yeah. And so that's the beginning of Brooklyn Dreams.
That's the beginning of Brooklyn Dreams. Because we were playing in clubs and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, we make this demo and we're in a room. What do you want to call this? I don't know, something Brooklyn. And another friend of ours, Danny Peck, said, hey, Brooklyn Dreams. And Bruce just wrote it down on the you know, the 2-track tape. They had these 2-track tapes with the mix on it, Brooklyn Dreams. And literally, that's how it became.
It's amazing. And so with Brooklyn Dreams, you made 4 albums, appeared on 6 soundtracks.
Yeah.
And then the song Heaven Knows with Donna Summer appeared on your guys' album and one of her albums as well, right?
Yeah. So here's that story. She had the song MacArthur Park. And on her album, the MacArthur Park song goes into this little interlude. And it wasn't Heaven Knows yet, but Neil Bogart, the record company president, said, what is that? That's a hit song. Why don't you do something with that? So Donna calls me with Giorgio Moroder, and I wind up singing Heaven Knows with her, and it becomes like a #3 record. You know, again, I'm like, it's really on the strength of Donna, because of who she was. We were doing the same thing we were doing for 20, 25 years. All of a sudden, we kind of write something with Donna and it becomes a big hit. We sing Heaven Knows, it becomes a big hit. And then, of course, through Giorgio Moroder, who was a producer, he was doing Flashdance. I'm jumping around a little bit, you know. He's doing Flashdance, and I get to sing Lady, Lady, Lady on Flashdance. And in the beginning, when they were doing that album, Giorgio did one side, Phil Ramone did the other side. Phil Ramone, produced Paul Simon, he produced Billy Joel, and nobody thought that the album was going to be anything. And the movie went through the roof, 15 million albums. At that time, I was besides doing what I was doing with Giorgio, I was working on the soundtrack Staying Alive with Frank Stallone, because Sylvester Stallone really liked us a lot. And he made his brother get in touch with me. And I wrote 4 songs for that movie. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. This is going to be the one. And I mean, it was successful, but Flashdance went through the roof. And that's that little piece.
Yeah. So Heaven Knows went to #4 on the Hot 100 charts. And at that time, with Brooklyn Dreams, you appeared on Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, American Bandstand. I mean, some pretty amazing things for the time. Now, why did Brooklyn Dreams break up in like 1980?
Well, I think Neil Bogart had passed away. Jimmy Ina had left the label, that label. He went somewhere else. Eddie went back to New York, and Bruce was more involved with Donna. And I guess it was time, because we made that final album. Nothing really happened. And the vibe was gone for the record with the record company president. Somebody new came in, and
well, the disco was kind of taken over, right?
Disco was kind of taken over. He wanted us to make a disco record. Neil, this is before he passed away, and we did. Nothing happened. We really weren't a disco act. We were an R&B act, and it just fell apart. like so many other groups do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And we should point out that Bruce O'Donnell ultimately married Donna Summer.
Yes, he married her.
The rest of her life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And they had 2 children together. And he was kind of doing, some of his, solo stuff. And then I was working with Giorgio. I did a solo album with Giorgio.
Right.
And then coincidentally, I think it was Allie Willis, who I knew, great songwriter. And Bill Conti did this song for Rocky III. Because they knew Stallone liked me, they had asked me to sing the song, and it was "You're the Best."
And we should point out, Joe, we should point out Allie Willis wrote the theme to Friends later, and she wrote all the Earth, Wind, and Fire hits, right?
She wrote Boogie Wonderland and the September song. Yeah,
Amazing.
very. Now listen, I'm going to tell you something. When I first met her in LA, she goes, "You don't remember me, but I used to go and sing at Catch a Rising Star in New York before I went to LA. And I would sing in between the comedians. This is Billy Crystal, Freddie Prinze. Before they were successful, they were just trying their stuff. Andy Kaufman. So I'd go in and sing. And the coat check girl, I used to go in and talk to the, hey, how you doing? You okay? Everything? Yeah, everything's fine. The coat check girl was Allie Willis.
Incredible.
And she told me this when she was in LA, and I didn't know it was her, but I remember talking to the coat check girl. So that it's so funny how that it just, it all goes like this, you know what I mean? And so they had this song and they asked me to sing it because they knew Stallone liked me.
Right, and Bill Conti is the composer of the Rocky movies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And he also was the orchestrator. I think he was the head of the orchestra on the Oscars for many years.
Right.
At that point, in the 80s. So, okay, what were we talking about? I lost
so you're meeting Allie Willis and Bill Conti.
Oh yeah. So we do the song, and I don't know if Stallone liked it or not, but the Scotti brothers, who I guess he was associated with them with their label, they had Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, which is a great song, and they put that in Rocky III. I wasn't one of their artists, so. But the director, John Avildsen, who directed Rocky III, was directing.
He directed Rocky I.
He directed Rocky I. Yes, exactly. He didn't do Rocky III? No, that was Stallone.
No, Stallone did it. But yeah. John Avildsen he directed the first Rocky, and he was in the process of The Karate Kid.
Yes, he liked the song so much that he put it in The Karate Kid. And if you really look at the lyrics, because people say this is a trivia thing, it says, history will repeats itself, try and you'll succeed. That was really for Rocky III because he loses to Clubber Lang, then he comes back and wins back the title, but it doesn't make sense for the Karate Kid because this is the first time he's fighting, whatever. So, but he liked the song so much that here's another little thing. I think the record company didn't want me to sing the Karate Kid song. They had somebody else do it, and they presented it to John Avildsen. He goes, what's this? I don't want this. I want Joe Esposito. That's how it got in. Accident.
Amazing. And talk a little bit about, Joe, that session, because you didn't know what this song was going to be when you went in.
No idea. No. All I know is I have another side to my voice. Everybody likes this rough, I call it the meatloaf sound, that rough sound, but I got a soft side to my voice too. So when I would do some of these sessions, sometimes I'd be singing, it's like a little out of my range. I'd be sweating. I have a headache. One more time, let's do it again. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait till this is over. Never thinking that 25, 30 years down the road, that song from that movie would become like a cult sports anthem. And that's exactly what it became. And because if you remember, when that movie first came out, it was the Bananarama tune, right. Cool Cruel Summer. That was the hit. That was it, not You're the Best. So now 20 years later, my son, who becomes a pitcher at Arizona State, calls me one day and says, Dad, you know the song You're the Best? I said, yeah. He goes, everybody's playing that song. Like when people come out to pitch and warm up, they're using your song. I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, no. So that was the first sign to me that something was going on with this song, 20 years down the road. Yeah. Yeah.
But for me as a kid growing up, and, I think for any kid who was the right age in 1984 and saw The Karate Kid, if you were bullied, if you took karate, if you took martial arts, that song really resonated with young people and became sort of a soundtrack of their lives. I think if you're my age, you've gone to the gym and ran on the treadmill to that song. You've used that song to get motivated, and it really rose above everything else and became sort of a really key to that movie. And it is the main sequence. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel LaRusso wins if that song's not playing.
Right. Wow. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. It's just really tied into the movie, and it's become a really inspirational song for a lot of people. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it, you know, to have that happen, because, you work for so many years, and you get this and you get that. I was originally up for Robin Hood, Thief of Hearts. They were thinking of having me sing the song that Bryan Adams did, but I wrote a different lyric for it. They had asked me to do a duet with somebody. I didn't get it. So there's the Dirty Dancing movie, The Time of Your Life. Jimmy Iano was the music supervisor. He was thinking about having me and Donna sing it. She turned it down because of the title of the movie. And then they got Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes. But and I'm like, I almost got. She
was very religious.
Yes. And it really had nothing to do with the title, had nothing to do with it. But before a movie comes out and you hear a movie title, you don't think anything of it, So I missed a couple opportunities, but then a couple I got, like Flashdance. I got You're the Best.
We should talk about that a little bit too, because on Flashdance there was a demo, right? Didn't you sing the main song at one point?
I sang the Irene Cara song with a different lyric, and I remember Giorgio saying, "Hey, her manager's giving us a hard time. If they don't sign the contract by today, like say at 3 p.m., you're going to sing both songs, What a Feeling and Lady, Lady, Lady." And at the very last minute, they got the deal done, and she sang it, and I just did Lady, Lady, Lady. So
I think you told me the idea was this was a movie about a woman, powering story, and that they thought maybe it was more fitting to have a woman sing that song. Yeah,
something like that. And plus she had done, what was the other movie that she did that was a big movie? Irene Cara. And that became a TV show too. And they kind of wanted that. Fame. That's exactly right, Fame. And guess what they used in Fame? Before she sang Fame, they had Bad Girls in as a temp song for the Fame song when they do that quite a bit when they were doing movies. So it's just funny, ironic how this all gets intertwined. So anyway, well, she did it. She did a great job. But I got Lady Lady out of it. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes in your career, you're doing things like, oh, I could have had that. Oh, I could have had this. And then I got a couple that worked out in my favor. And
it's a Grammy nomination for Lady Lady.
Yeah. Flashdance. And for Staying Alive, I got a Grammy nomination.
And so we're jumping around, but that's your career. We should talk about, you have a lot of things with Rocky. Rocky 4, you co-wrote a song called Hearts on Fire.
Yes, and I sang it. Yeah, and again, the Scotti brothers didn't have me as an artist. They had John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band sing the song because that was their artist. So I got to write it, but I didn't get to sing it.
Now, Joe, I heard your version, and it's much better in my humble opinion. And we got to find a way to get that out there because it's amazing. Your version's great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
People, at some point, we're teasing it. Maybe at some point people will get to hear that.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, okay, so let's go back to the Karate Kid for a minute, because who knew that a few hours of your life singing a song that you didn't even know which movie would end up would become such an iconic thing. And now we're talking about it so much because Cobra Kai comes out, and there's this whole new generation discovering the Karate Kid movies.
Absolutely.
And your song. And I know that, all of a sudden these conventions have come up, the Karate Kid conventions, and all these things that, who would have ever thought that a song 35, 36 years ago is people
never in a,
meet you.
Yeah, never in a million years, Jason. But again, it's just a nice, it's almost like I feel like I get like karma. I did so many things and tried for so long that now things are kind of, bearing fruit, so hopefully I have a new album coming out with that Vinnie Poncia produced. That was the gentleman that got me on the Ringo album.
And
And we
Vinny
do,
Poncia is a legend also. He
yeah,
produced a couple records for Kiss.
he
Co-wrote
wrote,
Loving You.
I Was Made for Loving You. He wrote You Make Me Feel Like Dancing for Leo Sayer.
Big stuff.
He's Melissa Manchester, he's produced. He even wrote a song for Elvis Presley back in the day when he was starting out, Harem Scarum. He's got if you Google his name, he's got 35, 40 years of hit records. And we've been doing this album together. It's kind of like a bluesy rhythm and blues type of thing, and with some great songs. So I'm really excited about when that comes out. That should be really good too. So
yeah, no, it's great that there's that you're still active doing things, and we'll get to that. But let's talk a little bit more about You're the Best. It's now on a slot machine. You can play in casinos, and they have a best bonus game. Let's not forget Homer Simpson covering You're the Best Around. And
yeah,
everything, South Park. It has become such a thing. And so Cobra Kai season 1 comes out, Know You're the Best. Season 2 comes around, Know You're the Best. So they interview Ralph Macchio, and he said he wasn't sure if it was too obvious to put in the show. Now, personally, and I love Cobra Kai, most of the things are pretty obvious. It's supposed to play back to the good old days of the Karate Kid.
right.
So what happens? Season 3 is coming out. They move to Netflix. The show's bigger than ever now, bigger audience. They put out a trailer for Netflix. And what's the song in the trailer? You're the Best Around.
Yes, with a new track. And a few weeks ago, I was in San Diego. I did a commercial for the internet, and it's a company. Well, the agency was Grizzly, but the company was called Keeper. And what it is, it's a password protection service on iCloud. So the premise, they called me. The premise of the commercial is, guy goes into the kitchen and says to his wife, "Honey, I can't find my password for whatever." And she says, "Oh, it's on Keeper." He says, "What's Keeper?" She says, "It's where your passwords are." So he goes and he looks it up and he finds that password and he goes, "That's the best." She goes, "No, you're the best." And then I appear singing "You're the Best," like just the chorus part. So here's the funny part. Now I'm on the set the day of the shoot, and I get a call from Josh. I don't know his last name. He's one of the creators of Cobra Kai.
Right, he's creator, writer, producer of Cobra Kai.
Yes. I don't know if there's more than one. He says
There's
to
3.
me, "Oh, there are 3. Okay." So he says to me, "I have something that I would like you to be involved in. I'd like Josh Gad to get in touch with you." Now, again, I don't know who Josh Gad is. I'm thinking he's the video guy. He goes, he does these podcasts for like movies, like Ghostbusters, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Saved by the Bell, behind the scenes stuff. He would like to, shoot you singing You're the Best. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely. He goes, okay, I'm going to give me a number. He's going to call you. He calls me. He's flipping out. You don't know what this song means to me. When I was going on auditions, I would, play your song, get me pumped up. And would you be able to do this today? I said, no, I'm actually in California. And he goes, what about tomorrow? I'd like to, get you singing You're the Best. Can't do it. I'm flying home tomorrow. Anyway, they call me. Oh, in the meantime, somebody tells me, do you know who Josh Gad is? I said, no. Google him. When I Googled him and I saw his face, I'm like, I know this guy. He's an actor. So I find out he's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a singer. He's the voice of Olaf on Frozen. So, when I'm doing a Zoom video like I'm doing with you, and I see him and I tell him, I said, Josh, I had no idea it was you. So he says to me, so we're going back and forth. He says to me, okay, you want to sing like a minute of this? I'm like, yeah, let me do it acoustically. And I did it acoustically, and he was flipping out. And we did it, and it's going to be on his YouTube channel on December 21st. And I guess it'll be at the end of the podcast for the Cobra Kai series. That's all I know about. Have you ever seen any of his?
Yes, so he does reunions on the Zoom cast. The last one he did was Wayne's World, so he had Dana Carvey and Mike Myers together, and then he brought in some of the guys from Aerosmith. And so that's what he does. He does reunions of major movies. And
Right.
I believe there's a charity involved. It's a really cool thing he does. It's funny that this song from 36 years ago is now occupying so much of your time. You know what I mean? You're literally like on a whirlwind tour for this one song.
Yeah, in my house.
in
You
your
know,
house, which is not
in
a
my
bad place to be.
No, it's fine. You know, like I just before I hooked up with you, Vinny called me. I'm doing my vocals right here in the studio, and because we can't get together, and then I send a WAV file to New York to the engineer, and then he'll say it's fine, or lower the volume, and then they put it in. This is how we've been recording. Thank God you can do this now because of technology. That it doesn't have to be put on hold because we can't get together because of this COVID thing. And the thing with Josh Gad, and even with you now, almost every day somebody wants to do some sort of interview or a podcast or a Zoom video or a phone interview based on this song. It's
But,
just,
and it's gotten even crazier because then the MTV Movie and TV Awards air.
Oh yeah, yes.
And we have Steve Aoki, the DJ, and Travis Barker, who's the drummer for Blink-182. They're
Right.
dressed in the Cobra Kai skeletons, and then they're playing "You're the Best" to your voice.
To my voice with their track, and I got a text from the manager the day, because I texted the manager, because they did get in touch with me a week before. He wanted to know where he could get the master for the song to separate the voice so he could build a track around it. And then they asked me if I could sing it if he builds a track, and I said yes. They had time constraints. So I guess they used my voice and they built their track around the voice on the record, obviously. But they did get back to me saying that he may want to recut this and would I be willing to sing it? And I said, yes, of course. So
your voice is the key to the track.
Yeah.
So those guys played it, and then one of these award shows recently, Ralph and William presented an award. They come on stage, they play "You're the Best Around."
Yeah, to Billy Zabka. I think he got a Lifetime Achievement Award or something.
Right.
Like that.
So it's
Now, I didn't watch it because I had no idea. They didn't tell me what it was for. He said he's doing this big thing. Okay. And then I see that it's, it winds up on the MTV Awards, which is pretty cool.
And obviously you wouldn't know these guys, but the Steve Aoki is this massive,
I know who he is. Him, Calvin Harris. I see billboards all over Las Vegas because they play at Hakkasan and I guess at the MGM.
Yeah.
I know they're big time DJs. But again, for me now, because that's such a new thing, that never used to be a big thing with the DJs. These DJs you use now, like 20,000 people show up and they're spinning records and doing stuff. So yeah, pretty cool.
So I mean, I think the question everyone wants to know is season 3 of Cobra Kai. Maybe it's a spoiler, so maybe it's a spoiler alert, but are people going to get to hear "You're the Best Around"?
Yeah, they are. It's in the, what Josh told me, not Josh Gad now, Josh, one of the creators, said, we took a lot of heat for not using "You're the Best" in the first 2 seasons, but it's going to be in season 3.
I wrote a lot of letters, Joe. I wrote a lot of angry letters. I campaigned.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
We got to get that. We got to get it in. So it's amazing that this song lives on. It's great to see people and of all generations, experiencing it, and that it's offering so many new opportunities to you as well. I want to talk about a few of the other things in your career, though, that also have magically come back. And one of those is These Hollywood Nights, a song you sang with Brooklyn Dreams for the movie American Hot Wax, right?
Yes. No, it was the follow-up to American Hot Wax. Floyd Mutrix directed that. He also did Hollywood Nights. So it was Kenny Vance and the Planetones. That it was the Brooklyn Dreams with Kenny Vance. We became the Planetones in American Hot Wax. And Kenny went on to have a very successful career in the doo-wop arena based upon that performance. And in Hollywood Nights, we wrote the theme song to the movie. So now, again, 20 years later, Snoop Dogg does a version of These Hollywood Nights.
Right.
And he raps to it. And then a couple of years later, Nappy Roots does a song called Good Day. They sampled the song. And it's called Gonna Be a Good Day. And all my trouble seems far away. And ain't nobody gonna die today. It's gonna be a good day. But it's dan 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 dan, which is our track. So it winds up in a McDonald's commercial. Then I see it in a Papa John's commercial. And again, a couple of these rappers have taken some of our songs and turned them into something, which is, again, a nice.
The big thing is these people are sending you checks now, aren't they?
Yes, they are, Jason.
Yeah. Right. But that's a good thing. I mean, who knew something you did 40 something years ago?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg is
That's what I'm saying. It's like karma or something. I don't know. It's been great. It's all
another,
I
okay,
can
and
say.
another one that we didn't mention that we should is Coming to America, because the sequel
Yes.
to America coming out, so it's timely again. But you sang a duet with Laura Brannigan.
Yes.
How'd
Uh,
that come about?
I forgot how I got that actually, but all I know is I wound up. Oh, she was a kind of a fan of mine. I did a session, a background session with these background singers in LA, and she was in the control room, and she wanted some sort of stepped out vocal. This wasn't the Coming to America song, and I stepped out and did a little vocal thing, and then it must have been about a year or two later. I'm in the studio with her and again Arif Mardan, who's a legendary Atlantic producer, and we did a song called "Come Into My Life" that's used in the. It's like in a transistor radio. In I think he's working at McDonald's Arsenio Hall. They're looking for a queen in Queens, right? Because he's like a king or something like that. And they play the song in coming out of a radio, and that's the song I did with Laura Brannigan.
That was another very big hit song.
Yeah.
And
So
then Piano in the Dark with Brenda Russell is another song I think came around that time.
yes, I think that's let me see, Piano in the Dark. Hold on a second, because I got it on the wall here. That was 1988 or 1987, and we got nominated for Best Pop Duo for Piano in the Dark. Now, Brenda Russell, I met in American Hot Wax. She was one of the D-Lights, one of those doo-wop groups. Right. And she went on to become a tremendous songwriter and artist herself. She wrote Get Here for Alita Adams and If Only for One Night for Luther Vandross and a bunch of other songs. And, of course, Piano in the Dark that she had, yeah. So we got a Grammy nomination for that.
It's amazing all these things together. And, you know, Joe, we should mention that right before this pandemic started, you were scheduled to play a show at the Whiskey A Go Go in Hollywood.
Yes.
And you had a band together, and you were going to play all of these songs from your career.
Yes.
And I think, Joe, we were going to, the show was March 20th. The shutdown happened March 18th. I remember the promoter trying to say,
no, we're going on. Meanwhile, they were shutting everything down, yeah.
And you had musicians coming from other places. And I remember at one point you said, I think we got to back out because it'd be embarrassing me singing You're the Best Around to just you and my wife, you know.
Exactly, yes.
And luckily we did because it wasn't able to. But that will be rescheduled when things get back together. You had an amazing set list. We had some really cool merchandising things. And I think your fans will love to see it when that time is right. And
yeah, I'd love to do it. And it's the original Brooklyn Dreams band, minus Snuffy Walden, because at the time, I think he was doing something for the West Wing. But I got Tony Polizzi on guitar, great guitarist, and this female singer, Felice Lizzie, who's fantastic. So when that does come about, yeah, it'll be fun. Hey, the whiskey, you got me that through at that convention with the guy that I guess books the place, and
they were fans of you.
Yeah, and it's prestigious. I mean, you know, the whiskey. I mean, the Doors played the whiskey. I mean, you know, it's a great thing. So
that's one of the amazing things about this, Joe, is that a lot of these songs you never really performed live with a full rock band. You're the Best Around. You performed it on your own, but never with a live band. And I think
right,
really. See that and you know, Staying Alive, those songs have such a cult thing too. The winning end is the big finale of Staying Alive.
Yes.
And so people would love to see you sing these songs, hear your version of Hearts on Fire. So
yeah,
we'll come up. I want to point out that, Joe, you've been living in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And, you've been singing in the Brooklyn Bridge Band, which was once Johnny Maestro in the Brooklyn Bridge. Johnny Maestro has passed, and that you sing in that band as well. If you want to tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, around 7 or 8 years ago, I got a call. They were looking for another lead singer. Johnny Maestro was a legendary doo-wop singer, come from the doo-wop era, but then he had the worst that could happen in like 1970, so he transcended the doo-wop era. Just a great singer. And they weren't happy with some of the lead singers that they had. So they asked me if I would do it. They were doing a gig here in Las Vegas. I never rehearsed with them. They sent me the songs. I did all the songs. We went on stage in Las Vegas, unrehearsed, and it went over very well. And so for the last 7 years or so, I've been singing with them, and it's been a lot of fun because we get to play in front of a lot of people, and it's been great. And I get to do You're the Best in some of the shows if we have enough time. Sometimes you've got 10 acts and you can only do 20 minutes. They don't want to hear You're the Best. They want to hear the Johnny Maestro song. So, and that's been a lot of fun. And they're great musicians and great guys.
Well, yeah, that's a really legendary thing. Shoes to fill, and that's a great thing. Also, Joe, I want to make the point that one of the reasons why You're the Best is still survives is that you can still sing these songs as good as you ever have. You still have a voice.
Yeah.
And I know people want to hear you sing it. I the way we met, Joe, is I came to see you performing here in Vegas because I wanted to hear You're the Best. And then to hear you, if you're a fan, you get goosebumps because you see the guy still has the actual voice, and that song lives on.
I think it surprises people because, I am an older guy, and the thing is I never stop singing, and I take care of myself, and I didn't lose it, thank God. And it's been great. I remember the night I met you. It was at Evil Pie, at Brenda Russell's place, and you came up to me and talked to me, and that's how we became friends.
Yeah, and I'm glad, that we talked and found some business ventures and things to do because I really do believe, Joe, that I think a lot of people knew your voice and your songs, but I think a lot of people maybe thought you were Michael McDonald or another 80s singer. But now you're giving a chance for people to see you and hear your career and put the face with those songs. And that little, as you say, the gift that keeps on giving, the Karate Kid song.
Yes. Amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah. So Joe, I want to thank you for this. I'm hoping that people really got to see a little bit more and learn because I think it's such a, we jumped all over because you have such a wide career and it's still going. Like you said, you have a solo record that you're working on now.
I forget a lot of this stuff as we're talking. Brenda Russell got me on Different Strokes. It takes different strokes. It was her, myself, and Arnold McCullough, who's also a famous singer. He's been with James Taylor. He's been with Phil Collins. So we did that. And then through Ira Newborn, who was a great musician, he did a lot of the John Hughes movies. Like I sang on Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science, 16 Candles. Through Giorgio, I sang on the movie Scarface. I forget about this stuff until it kind of comes up. Oh yeah, I forgot. I sang on that.
Well, your song it's on the Scarface video game right now.
What's that called?
It's called video game. But there's a video game that they're playing. They have one.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So it's amazing. I mean, and things like Different Strokes is in syndication every day. Those movies you list, these 80s movies, also Foxes and
yes, exactly. Yes.
These things will live on forever. So your voice is going to be heard, longer than you'll be heard, than any of us.
Right.
Anyway, Joe, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us and let all these people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say, Joe?
No. Have a good day. Be safe, and we will get through this.
That's good words, Joe. You're the best.
All right, buddy.
All right. No mercy.
No mercy. Oh, it's Martin Cove would say in a commercial, show mercy.
No mercy. Quality.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
You too.